Howdy folks, I haven't done a video in a long time, but over the last week or so, especially in the last day or so, I've seen a lot of talk about the RPRA, DEFRA, channel racing, Ian Evans's resignation from the RPRA, and so on and so forth. And I thought I would make a video sharing my thoughts on some of what's being said and some of the events. As usual, you've got the conspiracy theorists coming out with some of this stuff, and a lot of people talking a lot of BS again, which is typical, unfortunately, of the pigeon sport in the UK at the moment. So my thoughts on various things. The RPRA getting channel racing going, and more specifically Ian Evans. I've been a big believer in Ian Evans since he started, and the harsh reality is that without Ian Evans's involvement, you definitely wouldn't have the option of channel racing, and you probably may not even have racing because of the bird flu situation. And in my opinion, Ian Evans's hard work over these challenging few years mean you've now at least got the option to race the channel, and you've got racing. And to even have racing during the pandemic and now with the bird flu situation, that's a big job. I don't think too many people really understand the work that is involved in being the CEO of the RPRA. And for those people that have got an issue that DEFRA are involved, well, DEFRA are involved because they are the government organization that takes care, rightly or wrongly, of livestock in the UK. And now that we are not part of the EU, that is it. That is the reason. The RPRA haven't handed things over to DEFRA. DEFRA have had to become involved because we are no longer part of the EU, and we are completely separate to the EU, so we have to follow those rules. And I agree that DEFRA becoming involved is not ideal, but that's how it is. And to all the conspiracy theorists, oh, we will have to register with DEFRA to register to fly north. There's no evidence to suggest that. Personally, I have an issue registering with DEFRA for my son to race south. There's a cost element to it for a lot of people there. It puts the costs up, but there at least is an option to be able to race the channel, which without the RPRA's involvement, without specifically Ian Evans's involvement, we would not have right now. So at least people have the option. I think the reality is, let's see what happens over the next year or so. Too many people jump into conclusions about what it's going to be like with DEFRA involved. Nobody really knows. Yes, they have a lot of powers. We've had DEFRA here personally ourselves. You tell them what they need to know. Admittedly, they don't know a great deal about racing pigeons. You tell them what they need to know, and that's it. But we are where we are, and to get any channel racing, DEFRA need to be involved. It's as simple as that. And if you don't want DEFRA involved and you don't want to register with DEFRA, you go north. And I'm sure there will be federations and organisations turning north to fill the gap for people that don't want to race the channel for whatever reason. And it will be a case that it will mature over the next year or so, and hopefully there will be the choice for people that want to go north. I've seen a lot of bashing of Ian Evans over the last few weeks. I've seen comments I haven't looked at them all, but I've seen comments of various kinds in the last 24 hours since his resignation was announced. And what I would say is this, that I think he's done more for the RPRA than any general manager or CEO has done in a long time. And like I said earlier, without him, I don't think we'd be anywhere near where we are now with regards to channel racing and even racing. And I think, as I've said to him personally myself, I'm amazed and pleased, but amazed that he has stuck for 5 years in the job. I know for a fact that he came in thinking he could help instill change. He's tried his best, but the reality is he's a CEO with his hands tied. A CEO of an organization like that battles and bashes his head against the brick wall all the time to get anything done, that has got to be a thankless task day in, day out. A lot of people think that 43 grand or whatever it is a year is a lot of money for the work, the hassle, the stress, and the load of work he has to do, or anybody will have to do moving forward. It is not. Personally, I think to get anybody doing the job that needs to be done moving forward, it should be 100 grand a year job. But forgetting the money side of it for a minute, any CEO coming into the RPRA, like I said earlier, they're a CEO, but they've got their hands tied. Normally, in a commercial environment, a CEO is able to implement change, speak to their board of advisors, and implement change and get it done. That can't happen with the RPRA because of the governance structure and because of the committee. I've seen on Facebook that people are suggesting people's names. One of the names I've seen suggested is Aurel Vrigalescu. Aurel has done a great deal for the pigeon sport, but a few months ago resigned from all of his posts. Why did he resign from all of his posts? Because of the amount of hassle he was getting. Yes, I agree. Someone like Aurel is the type of person that needs to be involved. And ideally, it's the type of person that the RPRA should have as its CEO. But there is not a cat in hell's chance someone like Aurel would take that job on. One, he's a very successful businessman in his own right. Two, he has a young family. But the most important thing is he can't instigate change. He knows anybody like that has got the capacity, got the intelligence, got the drive, the vision, cannot instigate change. It's exactly the same why I have bowed out of trying to make any changes in the UK and the pigeon sport, because for 3 years, or for 2 years, up until a year ago, I was trying my best to talk about change and get change done. You're bashing your head against a brick wall, not just from a point of view of the RPRA, but from a point of view of the flyers and the membership of the RPRA. People talk a lot, but they don't want change. And you will get battered for whatever you say or do from within the community, from within the members. So I know he's already said that he won't be applying. Of course he won't be, because why would you put yourself up for that job? But yeah, it does need someone like Aurel. But it's not going to happen. The reality is this sport is on its arse in the UK. It has been for a number of years. And like I said, I've been a big fan of what Ian Evans has tried to do. But the reality is he's been bashing his head against a brick wall for every turn. And that's not even including the Brexit issues, the bird flu issues, and now the channel racing issues. Even without that, his hands are tied. And massive changes need to happen in the UK for this sport to continue and survive, let alone thrive. But at the deep down, the biggest problem this sport has, and specifically the RPRA has, is the governance structure. You've got a man like Ian Evans that's tried to instigate change. You've got someone like Richard Chambers, who's, I think, done a very good job trying to develop the sport, but has people bashing him left, right, and centre. Do people realise what effect this has on people's mental health and their own life? Ian Evans didn't come into this job for the money. He took a pay cut to come into this job because he wanted to instigate change and make things better. 5 years on, he's done his best, but everybody has their limits. And like I said, I'd have been out years ago if I was him. The governance structure of the RPRA needs fundamentally changing. It needs to be run as a business. The idea that it's run from the down up, from the bottom up, in theory is great, but in practice, it's never going to happen. Especially when you've got how the voting system works to get anything through. You've got clubs that have to go to regional representations and vote. Half of the clubs are not represented. I could go on, but it's a massive issue as a governance structure. The KBDB in Belgium is run as a business. And that's what the RPRA, in my opinion, needs to be run as. And you need a CEO that can make vast changing, sweeping changes without having to go through 22 people. With all due respect, some of those people are just not the right people to affect those changes that need happening. There's 18,500 registered members of the RPRA. In 1988, it was over 60,000. 2 years ago, it was 19,500, just short of 20,000. So we've dropped 7% in 2 years already. And now with these changes that are happening with channel racing and all of that stuff, you watch the exodus this year of people packing up at the end of the season. The sport is on its arse in the UK to where you can see that in 10 years' time, it'll just be a select few of people, good luck to them, racing nationals, and it'll be one-off races. And that's a very sad state of affairs for the sport. People have even said to me in the last 24 hours, why don't you apply for the CEO role? You couldn't pay me $250,000 a year to do it. And even if you did, I wouldn't do it because you know what? Life's too short for that stuff. Because at the end of the day, fundamentally, forgetting money, forgetting anything about the stress of it, the next person going in there will or should know what change can they really affect. Not a lot. Not a lot. People have talked about setting up other associations outside of the RPRA. I mentioned that 2 years ago. In theory, a great idea. But people have no idea the amount of money that would cost to do. It's never going to happen. Because who would invest in their right mind that kind of money needed? And it would be 7 figures into a sport that is decreasing every single year. And with an association that already is full of members that seemingly a pocket of them thrive on causing problems. It's not going to happen. It's a very sad state of affairs. I'm sad to see Ian Evans go. I don't blame him at all. Like I said, I'd have been out a few years ago if I was him. But I do worry where things are going because the passion that Ian fought the Brexit issue with, the channel racing issue with, the bird flu issue has got us where we are now. And you're never going to please everybody. Some people hate the idea of DEFRA involved. It is what it is. DEFRA involved because we're no longer a part of the EU. So the French need to speak to DEFRA, which is our animal organisation, governmental. It's just the way it is. Like it, lump it. If you don't like it, you go north. Simple as that. But in the bigger picture, how is change going to get affected? with the association as it currently is. My fear is it's not. And it's the same fear that made me decide a year or so ago now to step out of trying to make any changes and do anything within the pigeon sport in the UK other than support my son with his racing. Because life's too short to deal with all of this hassle. Life's too short to deal with your car getting blown up on your driveway. Life's too short to have death threats, people threatening to kill your dogs, people making up complete stories, lies about you. And life's too short when actually fundamentally, what do you want to see? You want to see racing happen in the UK and enjoy your pigeons. And I decided a good while ago now, I'm done with trying to affect change because you're just bashing your head against a brick wall for many reasons. Yeah, the bird of prey issue is one of the biggest issues we face. But let's not kid ourselves that that's going to change anytime soon, because the RSPB are a far bigger, more powerful organization than the RPRA is or probably could ever be. Yes, we've got a major perception issue of the sport. Yes, it needs changing. And like I said in my first British Home in World article 3 years ago now, vision and change needs to happen. But I soon realized, even weeks into writing that first article, that that's an idealistic approach and it's not possible, which is very sad because other countries are growing in membership. But in the UK, we have a very big issue to deal with, and I am not entirely sure there is a way of dealing with it. And that's just the way I see it. It's sad. Personally, I thank Ian Evans for everything he's put into the job in the last 5 years. I know his life will be a lot less stressful moving on to wherever he goes next. And let's see who puts their name in the hat, in the ring, moving forward. But whoever it is has got a big uphill battle. And while that governance structure is in place as it is, that battle is not going to get won anytime soon. So there you go. There's my thoughts and opinions on it, guys. We will see what happens. I hope the channel situation over the next 12 months gets better, changes. Personally, my son's Andy wanted to race the channel. We're going to see. I quite like the idea of him racing North and Thurso and Lerwick because that's what I did when I was a kid, his age. But we're just going to have to see. But let's not kid ourselves. This is not easy. We are facing a massive fundamental issue within the sport in the UK. And how things are at the moment, it's not going to change anytime soon. And it needs to. Quickly. Because people talk about 10 years' time. I'm worried about 2-3 years' time. Within 5 years, what's a membership going to be like? And at the end of the day, it comes down to everybody with the right intentions wants to see this sport survive and hopefully one day thrive. And they do it for the love of racing pigeons. But at this moment in time, the future is not looking very bright for the sport in the UK. And root and branch fundamental changes to the structure of how everything is run, in my opinion, needs to happen. Thank you for watching, folks. Catch you at some point again soon.